Getting gear, putting it on, and taking it off fast. That and more on this episode of the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 416. And playing alongside me is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
So it's going pretty well. I mean, I did what I said last week was my plan, which was I took my Merc to level 80 before I got to Conquest, which actually wasn't hard. It didn't take too much. I didn't have to do anything where I logged out and tried to hit a goal with another character to avoid getting on my Merc. So that worked out well. So on my Merc, I did that, and I did make a new loadout for her so she can switch now between healing and DPS. It's working really smoothly. It took me a while to get it going correctly because I was making some kind of mistake where I would replace one over the other, and then I would have to redo the one I replaced. But
yeah, I'm still
somehow,
doing it,
somehow I've sort of got. Well, I don't want to say this now, but I've sort of gotten beyond that if I'm really careful. But so that's my Merc. So the Merc is just. I don't have a second combat style on my Merc yet. I still don't know what I'm going to do. But then I went on the pub side. My plan was I was going to do the story on the pub side as well, but I didn't have any pub characters that were close enough to the story. So
right.
I actually took one of my shadows, and I did do a combat style for her. I gave her a sage combat style, and then I started just questing because I went to Osis on her, so I had to go through Osis and go through Andron, and go through Meksha. And right now, what I finished with her is I finished the Meridian Complex Flashpoint. And now I have to go through the next step is to go through this, rescuing Satil Shan and her Padawans, and then do probably, like Spirit of Vengeance and the Secrets of the Enclave Flash. Anyway, but anyway, so this shadow by now is level 80, but has just finished up Meksha. But what I did is I went with the combat style on her, since she was like shadow and sage. I did a lot of switching back and forth because I feel like the sage is great for when you have to actually kill things.
Yeah.
And the shadow is great when you think you can just stealth through stuff.
Yeah.
And so I found that it was so easy to go back and forth that it was really kind of fun to be able to go through a bunch of stuff and then switch back to sage and kill them, and then switch back to shadow and pass through a bunch of pulls. However,
but you can't do it within a flashpoint, which I actually wanted to do in Meridian more than anywhere else. Would have loved to have been able to stealth through half of Meridian.
No, I did it in Meridian. Actually, I might have done the whole thing in my shadow now that I think about it, because I did stealth through a bunch of stuff in Meridian. What I did find, just me personally, is I would sometimes forget that I didn't have the AoE when I'm in my shadow spec, and I didn't have stealth when I'm in my sage spec. So I'd be like hitting the wrong button and going, wait, what's happening? But that's just a mindset thing. But anyway, once I got the hang of and then the thing is that I didn't figure out right away is you use the loadouts to change to your other combat style. Don't use the combat style.
Right.
And I know people have said that, but it didn't penetrate until I was actually doing it myself. So if you use the loadouts to change back and forth, that's the convenient way to do it, because that'll change your discipline and your gear and your buttons, which is what you want.
Right. Exactly.
So starting at level 75 and going through Osis and Andron and Meksha, she got to level 80 somewhere on Meksha, just for information. I'm still going to do the rest of the story because I want to see the pub side. I just haven't gotten there yet.
Right.
And then on my Merc, I've been doing. I actually did another thing, which on my Scoundrel, I did I got him to level 76 and Conquest. I can't remember why I did that. I think I wanted Medals of Commendation or something. So he's at level 76, but I don't have a second combat style for him either. My favorite thing right now is Sage and Sork. My commando, my plan, I haven't done this yet. My plan is to go commando and merc. I have no idea what I'm going to do on my merc or my scoundrel. So that's where I am. That's what I've been doing. So how about you, Max?
Yeah, I did do a second combat style on both of my main characters. So my merc is a vanguard and my vanguard's a merc. They're both sort of mirrored that way, which is kind of cool. I got 4 characters to 80 and another one to 79. I did play through the story on both the Republic and the Imperial. A couple of those other characters that I was leveling up to 80 did not have the story. In fact, the latest one that's 79, I'm back where you were. I was, well, not all the way back. I was like in the middle of Mech Shah. So I had to finish Mech Shah and I was doing some stuff, and so I'll still need to push that forward. I only care about getting them to 80 so that I can be doing more of the weeklies and getting conquest on them to get some of the currency. Although here we are on Thursday and I'm already capped for the weekly progress on Medals of Commendation. Well, almost. I'm at 966 of 999. So I don't need any more Medals of Commendation. Is mostly what you do personal conquest for. But still, sometimes it's easier. You only can do like CZ 198. Say I wanted to spam CZ 198. You can only do it 3 times on each character. You still can do it 3 times, but you can only do it 3 times. So now I'll have a set of characters that I can do it on, and they need to be 80 to be able to be getting the aquatic resource matrix out of that.
I mean, I forgot to mention Galactic Seasons because last week, in doing that stuff that I just talked about, I did end up completing 7 out of, the max is 7 for the Galactic Seasons weekly. And I think this week I'm going to end up doing more like 5, but still, it's a lot of Galactic Seasons is happening just doing what I do.
So I did that also. I did all of Galactic Seasons, each of the dailies and the weekly. And I will do it again this week because I'm already at 5 of 7 on the weekly and have done all the dailies already as well. So quite a bit. So what I ended up doing, because I had progressed this far, and this is why Aquatic Resource Matrix is what I'm starved for right now, and doing things like CC198 for, is I started working on gear. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We'll save the story for one more week. We'll give you all another week to get it out of your systems and get ready for the spoiler show. But being able to go through and really take a look at what my gear is, what I wanted to do. We got into an operation for the first time tonight just to check them out. We did a couple pulls of vet mode boss with half the people and just straight up 320, fresh 320 gear. And we did we killed a boss in a story mode, Temple of Sacrifice, just to get a feel for it. And then we went and killed killed 4 world bosses to get to Aquatic Resource Matrix. I need the Aquatic Resource Matrix because that's one of the key currencies that you'd use for upgrades. So we'll get into all of that, but that's what I've been doing a ton of. I've also been doing a ton of GSF and PvP for the weeklies and for the gear. So half of my gear right now, or a third of it at least, is PvP gear, and it's upgraded PvP gear. So, I'll be able to show that off, and I'll explain what I got there and why that's, if you can stomach it, is a useful path. So that's been fun, though. It's been fun, and I knew this would be fun. I predicted it would be fun, which is the puzzle of trying to figure out how to get the gear. And I may have even been annoying my ops team tonight, telling them all don't do story because blah blah blah, and this is what you should do, and this is where we should do next, and this is what we got to work on, guys. But that's been fun to think about.
Right. And I'm glad that it's fun for you because I'm just waiting for it to all sort of shake out, and then I'll be like, okay, explain it to me.
Then we'll have the answers. Well, we'll have half the answers tonight. That's what we'll have on the show. But first, we'll talk about the news.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
So first up and last up and all up in the news, in the dev tracker, is bugs. bug smashing, bug fixing, notes on bugs, bugs that are getting fixed behind the scenes, bugs that'll be coming up and getting fixed in a new patch, more bugs that we're discovering. Check the dev tracker, lots of known issues, lots of bugs that they're certainly working on. And Jackie even had an updated post on the new patch that'll be coming out that's going to fix a lot of this stuff. Her latest post from 6:20 p.m. we were just reading right before the show is about those bug fixes and also about being kind. Be nice, guys. Don't be mean. Be nice. They're working on it. They'll fix it. They'll get it out of the way. They've got the dev team. We know the dev team. They love this game. They're trying to get this stuff done. It's a lot of changes, and because of that, there's a lot of bugs that we're missing that we're seeing as well. Some of the bugs that you may have heard of, I just made a note of a couple of them. The missing loot that will hopefully be fixed very quickly. Chad Bane, the companion from Galactic Seasons. Apparently, if you use all of the rep tokens, say you buy out the entire season, you use all the rep tokens, they don't go all the way to 50. Seema has a pro tip for how to get from that 49.5 to 50. And what was your tip there, Seema?
Well, I mean, I used a compendium. That's how I got my
Use
50.
a compendium. Use a compendium. And
But it is a pro tip because if you take him from 0 to 50 with a compendium, you get an achievement.
Right. So do it. So go from 49, use all the tokens. No, don't use all the tokens. But you're going to want to do the compendium anyway. So save all of the rep items for your second character because you only get one set of the rep items. And then use the compendium on the first Chad Bane. And for the second Chad Bane, you can use all the rep items once it gets fixed. I also saw in there a couple notes on various Conquest and Galactic Seasons objectives not counting or not counting completely or missing once in a while. I feel like I've run into that myself, but not completely sure, but that's something to watch for. And then the most important one that I saw was that unify colors on companions is missing and not working. That is a travesty. That's a showstopper. Because as we know, it is better to look good and have our companions look good than to work good.
Definitely.
Or whatever. A couple other bugs that we didn't encounter, but you.
Yeah, I did not encounter this, but other guildies have. The last fight in the Elam Flashpoint, it's really tricky. So if you're experiencing difficulties with it, there's some advice on workarounds. They're going to fix it, but for now, basically the workaround is for you to stay around the outside. And what else, Mac? Because maybe because I went in with a ranged character, I didn't have any issues. But some people are having issues, and they're bad. Like they get dropped through the world, and then the fight ends.
Over and over again.
Over and over and over. Yeah, that's frustrating.
Recommend
that would drive me insane.
Right. So the boss you're fighting, if you have a leap ability, don't use it. Don't chase the boss around. Let him come to you. Stay around the outside on the stone. And he will do some pulls of you, but stay around the outside. You want to potentially stay close to those heal stations anyway, so that tends to work out well. When he starts doing his dashes around the whole arena, ignore him. Let him tire himself out like a little baby. Just let him run himself out. You don't need to do anything. He just like dashes around. Let the companions do a whole bunch of the work and just sort of sit back, keep yourself alive, and stay. Don't overplay it. Don't play yourself. And that tends to work a little bit better. Not perfect, but that tends to work better. I had no problems, and I did it twice. I one-shot it twice on each of my characters, but I was playing a ranged character. I think I was playing Arsenal both times. It was on my Vanguard and on my Merc, both spec as Arsenal. But again...
And that's why I think that's why I had no trouble, too, because I wasn't ever chasing him. I wasn't flying to him, yeah.
A couple of people have said even some of the knockback, getting knocked back into the shield walls can kill you. That did not kill me, and I was knocked back into the shield walls. So it's not consistent, and that can be frustrating. Putting your back to a pillar when he's going to do his knockback. Don't chase him around. let the companions do the work. They'll kill him. That's fine. Just let that happen, and I think you'll potentially have better luck. We did try to bring a guildie into that fight, and you can't do it unless you're on the same stage in the story because it's a story mission at that point. And if you've completed it, you can't go back in and as a story instance.
And
So,
it happens
unfortunately.
this way automatically, but if you've changed it for any reason, go back to having one of your companion on heals. One, you won't be able to control at all what role they're taking, but the other one that you can do, put it on heals.
Yeah, right. And let the other one do the damaging. And
I mean,
you
and
can
I
sort
did
of
that
sit back
even
and throw
though
shots.
my character was in a healing spec. I still put that character on heals, and it worked beautifully.
Yeah. Guild and community news. What do we got in Alea Iacta Est? I think we got a team that needs stuff.
Right. So our team Taco, which stands for something, is in need of 2 DPS. They run on Sunday nights at 7:30 p.m. Central. Okay, 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
What does taco even mean? I don't even know what taco means.
It means something. I don't know. I forget, but it does mean something.
It means something.
In the tradition of picking the acronym first and then putting words on it.
Right.
That is an imp team.
Yes. Imperial side on Sunday nights at 7:30 p.m. Central.
So they need 2 DPS. So there's
it is
good
not
opportunity
taco.
there.
It's not 2-hit HC0. It's actual taco, as in that's delicious.
Right. I love tacos and burritos.
Also, Seema and I were on the AIE podcast on Sunday. So if you're not familiar, Alea Iacta Est, AIE-guild.org, we've got a podcast for our guild. It's basically, we've got some excellent leads, and they go through and talk about all of the news going on in all of the divisions. You can really get a sense of what's going on across all of our games. And in addition to the detailed news of what fun nights are going on in what games, there's always a segment that's where they bring either some officers or some guildies on from one of the divisions to talk about what's going on in that game in particular. So Seema and I were on Sunday to talk about Star Wars: The Old Republic because there's stuff going on. I don't know if you know that, but Seema, did you know there's stuff? There is.
I think
stuff.
the AIE podcast might have gone a little long that night.
It did go a little bit long. So Tetsemi and Makala, Muka was not there, the third host of the show, but we were happy to do it. We always have fun with those guys, and it was a good show. Good show. Shout out to the chat room. Got a bunch of people in there. Thank you all for jumping in there. Stay tuned after the show for Seema's inappropriate joke that she will regale you with. But right now, I think we're still burning. We're burning gear.
Power will be yours if you are willing to burn.
That was an idea I had at some point. I think I put it into one of my wish lists, which was tunings for gear. There are a couple gear pieces that have a little bits of animation on them. I even made a view of the couple points in the game where due to bugs, you can get yourself on fire. Like, we probably can't do it anymore, but Hive of the Mountain Queen last at 6.x, when your gear was high enough, you would survive the explosion in the tunnel before you jump down into the hive, and you would start on fire, and you would stay on fire the rest of the fight. I want gear tuning so I can be on fire. I want not only my weapons on fire. There's my 2 weapons on fire, my tiny weapons. But I want my whole self to be on fire, like Nick Cage, Marvel guy on the motorcycle with the skull is on fire guy. What's his name? You know what I'm talking about, chat room. Shout it out. There we go. Anyway, getting gear. As I said, it was fun to level up the characters, set up my loadouts, get the story done, and as that was going on, get to the point where I've got a bunch of the gear that I was starting. The baseline, as soon as you get to level 80 and you hit personal conquest, you've got 200 of those medals of commendation. You can get the full set of 320 gear. And then I was trying to figure out, okay, well, what's next? Where am I going to go? Let's break it down, because there's a whole bunch of things you can start to think about now if you're getting to that point. Where you're going to get the gear, what your current target is, and what your long-term target will be. A couple of the resources that are good to talk about, and we've talked about MMO Bits and Zamzam's Guide in particular before. I would say that is still one of the top resources to get the full rundown of everything, but then I will tell you some of the nuances in that you can look up and refer back to. Zamzam as sort of like the detailed notes on this. One of the things that's a great place to start is there's a table in the middle of that whole post by Zamzam, which shows the levels of gear and how much they can be upgraded for all of the sets that you get from the different content that's available to you. So there's sets that come from Conquest in general. That's the Medals of Commendation. Those are the Noble Decurion sets. There's sets that come from Flashpoints, which is the story mode and hard mode Flashpoints. Story mode Flashpoints are Elite Decurion. Story and hard mode, I think, is Elite Decurion. And then Master mode Flashpoints is the Supreme Decurion, I believe it's what it's called. Then there is story mode Operations, which is Taiwanese. There's hard mode Operations, which is Kalomi. And there's Nightmare Operations, which is Ricado. However, not all of the gear is created equal in terms of how much it can be upgraded. And one more set, which is actually quite important, is the Thyrisian, the Lando-Thyrisian. I practiced saying that earlier. Now I forgot. That's not what it's called, but it's a Thyrian gear, which is also quite useful as well.
But and that comes from PvP?
It comes from PvP and is upgraded with the PvP currency. So here we are on the fleet. It is not one of the vendors that's here in this area on the fleet. So if you're looking for the PvP gear, it's over in the PvP combat training section of the fleet. There's the PvP vendor is over there and the PvP upgrade vendor. So the vendors that are here in the supplies section of the fleet are the Conquest gear vendor. That's for just buying the 320 stuff. And then 3 upgrade vendors, the Conquest upgrade vendor, the Flashpoint upgrade vendor, and the Operation upgrade vendor. So what you're doing is you're getting a piece somewhere. For Conquest, you're buying it because you're just getting it from Medals of Commendation. Although you might get a couple Decurion pieces elsewhere. For Flashpoints and Operations, you're mostly getting it in Flashpoints and Operations, dropping off of bosses or in the crates that you open. And then you go to the upgrade vendors to upgrade it with the currency. But what you need to think about, and that's what this chart was really good at explaining to me and sort of the place that I started, is, well, what pieces would I want to upgrade? Because you're going to be spending currency, potentially valuable currency, that you can only get so much of in a week, and then it takes a little bit of time to grind out. You have to spend that currency to upgrade. So you don't want to upgrade something that you're not going to keep for a while. I was also looking at this to say, well, at what point am I going to start to augment my gear? So I'm not going to put a bunch of augment kits into a piece of 318 gear when I can just go on the fleet and buy a full set of 320. I'm also not going to put a bunch of augment kits in the 320 gear. So my target, and from looking at this chart, you can probably guess, was 326. 326 is what I'm going to get all of my gear to, probably, maybe by the end of the week, probably early next week. Zen, a couple other people, they're all full 326, and a couple pieces will even be a little bit over that. I'm not going to be doing any mass mode operations, so I will not be getting into that 328, 330 with those pieces. I'm not going to be getting Ricotta gear. So 326 is my target. Given that, as you see here, there are a couple sets where you could hamstring yourself by saying, I'm going to pour a whole bunch of upgrade currency into my Elite Decurion gear that I'm getting from Flashpoints, and then, it doesn't go any higher than 324. Or Taiwanese. Ooh, I got in a story mode Flashpoint. I got a couple Taiwanese pieces. I'm going to upgrade that. Upgrade it to 322, and there's no more upgrades. It ends at 322. So this is where you want to look at what sets what you have, what pieces you have, and where you want to upgrade them and where you want to upgrade them to. I want to get all my pieces to 326. I will equip a piece of Taiwanese if it's better, but I'm not going to upgrade a piece of 320.
Upgrade it.
Right.
So basically, looking at this chart, I personally would want to upgrade my Conquest gear my conquest gear.
Yes. Conquest gear is a great
Unless we
place.
decide to do a bunch of master mode flashpoints, and then
Right.
I could upgrade that.
Right.
No, wait. Yeah. Okay.
You'll want to you'll mostly be upgrading your conquest gear. If you get a couple flashpoint pieces, you might just take one of those pieces and upgrade it. The
And
other
somebody else might upgrade their PvP and GSF gear, but that
yes,
won't be me.
I'll show you that
flashpoint
because
gear.
I am doing that, and that's a really nice way if you can stomach it. Once our team, which hopefully is soon, maybe even
Wait,
next week.
what's a hard mode flashpoint?
Master mode flashpoint.
Okay, master mode. So master mode goes to 326. Okay.
Yeah. Vet mode and story mode flashpoints do not. So master mode flashpoints is the only flashpoint gear I would bother to upgrade. The straight up noble Decurion gear that you get from Medals of Commendation to get that 320 set, that's great gear to just upgrade over time and to take all of it and upgrade it to 326.
It feels weird that story mode ops would not be at least as much as conquest.
And it's even 2 levels below the conquest. It won't go up to 326. I agree. That does feel weird. So the Titany set seems
I don't want to really complain because conquest is kind of my jam. So I feel like, okay, I'm okay. But yeah.
I think I'm really surprised that isn't upgradable to 326, even if it started lower. So it starts dropping at 320 and you have to take longer to upgrade it. I feel like Tyanese should go to 326. And because of that, when I was having the strategy, what should we be doing? Talk to my ops team that I'm sure they were annoyed by. I was saying it's useless for us to do any story mode operations. We're not going to be getting very many rewards, and
they're the ones we will get are dead ends.
Right. You're not going to want to upgrade any of that. You could equip a 322 piece over your 320 stuff that you just bought for a little while, but you're going to toss it as soon as you get anything else. So, but as we also noticed, the difficulty jump, as ever, between story mode and vet mode is big. We hit the enrage timer on the
first boss
Vault.
in veteran mode Eternity Vault. Yeah, so that has inspired me to upgrade my gear, and I'm gonna go via the conquest route.
Yes.
That's my plan.
And I would highly recommend that to most people to go the conquest route. And upgrade that gear and use the aquatic resource matrix and medals of commendation that you're getting to upgrade that stuff. That's a great place to go. And it's a great path. It's a nice path you can work towards over time by just a lot of the general things you'll be doing in the game, because aquatic resource matrices come from a lot of places. Medals of commendation come from a lot of places. It's great. One other thing that you need to remember is your implants, your legendary implants. Once you unlock that activity vendor, it takes quite a bit of tech fragments to upgrade those. You're going to want to continue to upgrade those and work on that over time. I upgraded one of them twice and another one of them once so far. So my two...
I mean, that's just another word about conquest, which maybe this is what you meant, but like, we found out that you only have to be level 76 to get the medals of commendation from conquest. So if you have a character that you can get to 76 and then make conquest, that's 200 medals that you can apply to your main for their gear.
You are going to be flush with medals if you are if you do conquest on a couple of characters. I did conquest on a couple of characters just because I was just doing general stuff this week, and if you look at my currency tab here, I have too many medals of commendation. And I've been trying to buy. In fact, I bought an entire set of the 320 tank gear.
That many. Okay.
I'm gonna be
that looks nice.
blowing them on 320 sets for alts, because I'm at 966 for the week, and I still have 964. And earlier today, I spent 200 of them. I'm gonna be capped for the week, so that weekly cap will hold you back. But medals of commendation to me aren't a problem. Aquatic resource matrix, they're not that hard to get, but you do have to do a little bit more work. It seems like medals of commendation just rain from heaven. So I'm starved for aquatic resource matrix, so that's what I'll do. The implants, to upgrade implants, take a bunch of tech fragments and aquatic resource matrix and metals accommodation. The ones that I upgraded, and these do upgrade to 330 also. So these will, even if you upgrade everything to 326, you will be able to get your implants to 330. So that's a nice item to get to 330. And then it'll sit at 330 for quite a while. That's another great one then to go ahead and put the augment kit in and put the augment and get those augments on a couple of those more pieces that have more longevity. You're not going to throw it away right away. It's only an augment kit that you're wasting. You can pull the augment out and be sure to do that before you turn in the piece and upgrade it, or you lose the augment.
Right.
But that's not bad.
I mean, you're going to lose the augment kit no matter what,
right.
But you can pull out the augment, which is by far the more expensive of the two items.
Exactly. So let's talk about the currency for just a sec. Make sure everybody remembers what those currencies are. So as I said, metals of accommodation, those reign from conquest. Get 5 characters to conquest, and you will have exceeded your cap. Get 4 characters to conquest, and you'll probably hit the cap also because you get more than just those 4. Aquatic resource matrix drop from a lot of places in pretty solid amounts. If you do CZ198, which is fast these days because of multi-tagging, and pro tip for CZ198, as you jump down to the first room where you need to click the boxes to open them up to kill the robots, invite everyone you see in the room to a group.
Yes.
Immediately.
Yes.
And then stay grouped with them the rest of the time. I got CZ198 done, I swear, end to end, like 4 minutes, and it was just me and just one other person. Maybe it was a minute or two longer than 4 minutes, but it was quick to just clear all that. We weren't like following each other. We were just doing our own thing, but everybody's doing the same thing. Then I was downstairs and there's kills going off and boxes and things, canisters being popped, and the progress on the quest is just ticking on by. One shot, there's a group killing that big robot. As you run down the stairs, you put a shot into that and it's dead before you can blink, and you get credit for that. You get credit for each one of the 5 missions for CZ198. You get 3 aquatic resource matrices, I think 3. So that's 15 total. And then you get 20 or 25. I think you get 25 for completing the weekly. So there's 35 to 40 right there.
I mean,
Great.
The one thing I didn't like about CZ198 is the competition for that one heroic +2 boss, and that's gone now.
Totally gone, and a great example of multitag, multitag working incredibly. World bosses are another great place, but that is a great place for it to work. Note from the chat room, what's a best way to farm tech frags? Tech frags come from a few different places. Tech frags do come from Conquest, completing Conquest for the week. And they do come from gear that you are disassembling. So you can still disassemble gear, and like extra gear that you get, extra Decurion gear. Any gear that you get will disassemble into tech frags and extra stuff. And the extra stuff will be the currency that's associated with that gear. So if you're disassembling Rakata, you will be getting hazardous matter catalysts because that's the upgrade currency for operations. If you're disassembling, say, PvP gear, you will get Thyrician production accelerants, which is, again, the currency. Chance at. Other things, PvP, GSF, those all get tech frags as well. So yeah, aquatic resource matrix, that's a great place to get those. The Thyrisian, that's how you say it. Thyrisian production accelerants. That's the currency that comes from both PvP and GSF. And if you want the pro tip there, GSF is a better place to be getting the currency and the boxes and completing weeklies and getting things done, because PvP requires you to win to complete the daily and the weekly. GSF does not. Now, the GSF Galactic Seasons objective for this week is great because it's it forces you to get medals. You have to get 25 medals across any number of matches. So crashing into an asteroid over and over, I really don't see that many people doing that these days. That will not get you any medals. Don't do that. Doesn't help the group anyway. And getting wins count for 2. So if you have to do 4 matches to complete the weekly, winning 2 completes the weekly. So don't just ram yourself into a asteroid. Not that anyone we know would ever do that.
I would not. I would probably miss the asteroid.
I understand. GSF is a high learning curve, but if you can get into it, play about a dozen matches and then decide if you've got it or not. Do the practice. There's a tutorial, and get 2 groups, challenge each other to a GSF match, and don't shoot each other when you get in. Just learn to fly, learn to target, learn to fly around, learn how to make your ship turn right side up, so you're not all flipped around and you have no idea what's going on.
Okay. I totally support learning something and practicing and then deciding whether or not you like it in real life.
In real life. Good point. It's not like a life skill. It's not, you're not like learning a language or.
I can't tell you how many things in real life I've just gotten super focused on and spent so much time just going to too far of a detail, learning every little thing. But I just can't do that for GSF.
Which is, there's a point. There's a point there. I don't disagree. If it's not fun, but after you do try it out and you do try to learn some matches, yeah, don't bother. There's other things to do. There's plenty of ways to upgrade the gear just through conquest and just doing the random everything.
This is what I'm willing to do for the community is be the model for someone who accomplishes everything without doing GSF.
Which is that you're the control group. That sounds good.
Yes. Yes.
That sounds good. What else did we miss? Oh, Decurion isotope stabilizers. This one here, the ISO stabs. These are the flashpoint upgrade currency. So if you are running master mode flashpoints and you want to upgrade that gear, the superior Decurion or supreme Decurion set to 326, you'll need to be collecting Decurion isotope stabilizers, which drop from a couple places, mostly from flashpoints. Chance of dropping off the bosses and from completing the weeklies for flashpoints. Then there's the hazardous matter catalyst. That's the operation currency. Sorry. Again, that comes from chance of dropping off the bosses, only a chance, and then completing the operations and completing the weeklies and the group finder. No, it didn't show up in the group finder for completing the operation. I think there's something wrong with the group finder rewards for operations, especially for like Taboro's Courtyard. Taboro's Courtyard group finder reward is 20,000 credits. That's I hope that's wrong. That's just wrong. That's insulting. Anyway, hazardous matter catalyst, that's what you need if you want to be upgrading your Rakata here, for example. Along with other things. All of these tend to also take aquatic resource matrix and metals of commendation, for example. So when I was upgrading my PvP gear, I was also needing to use aquatic resource matrix and metals of commendation in addition to the Thirsian production accelerant currency. All right. Now, given all of that and all of the ways you can get gear, what you may end up doing, which is where I ended up, you may end up with mixed sets and wearing stuff from different places. I am wearing Noble Decurion Bolt Blaster pieces. I am wearing Noble Decurion. I thought I even had a healer piece on here. Oh, no, I don't have it equipped, but I may switch over to it. The Noble Decurion Force Lord's headgear is what I'm going to be upgrading. Thirsian Force Lord's cuffs. Why do I have Force Lord's cuffs? Oh, because they must have dropped on a character I was PvPing on. My weapons are PvP weapons, the Thirsian sets. And I'm not yet wearing any of the Master Mode Flashpoint or Operations gear. So I've got a mix of a few different sets. I'm going to continue to upgrade. As you can see, I already have 326 for my main hand weapon of the Thirsian Bolt Blaster pistol. That's done for me for now. That's done for me until I start getting Ricotta weapons. Or weapons out of R4. So that's great. I was able to augment it. I put an accuracy augment in it. It's all set for me. I'm happy with it. I'm happy as I can be until I can put an outfit designer new skin on top of it. My offhand I also got off of and this one I bought, which starts at 318 when you buy it off the vendor for PvP currency, and I upgraded it three times so far, and I need to upgrade it one more time to get to 326. The reason I upgraded it, and here's another interesting tip when I start talking to you about stats here in just a second, the offhand you can buy off of the PvP vendor can come with accuracy. There's 2 versions, and one of them has accuracy on it. Accuracy needs to be up at around 2700, and it's not easy to necessarily get. And the pieces that you get, the armor pieces, may not have enough accuracy on them. And rather than putting, 11 to 14 accuracy augments all over yourself, I said, well, great. I will grab that accuracy weapon, and that gives me another 629 accuracy because it's a 500 accuracy plus 100 points of accuracy for the augment that I put into it. And that gives me a big, big chunk of accuracy and is one of my pieces. So, what am I doing and why did I mix these sets? As you can probably allude to, I'm trying to now go after what are the stats that I need. Then I'm going to get everything first I wanted to make sure it can get to 326. And then I wanted to be able to get the stats that I wanted and needed. There are 2 stats, and this works the way it's always worked. The thresholds have changed, but the 2 stats for DPS in particular, this is mostly a DPS thing. The 2 stats that you kind of need to think about and worry about are accuracy and alacrity. Accuracy first, and then alacrity to a threshold so that you get comfortable with a bit of a cooldown, because there are thresholds to where you get that extra 0.1 seconds off your cooldowns, your global cooldowns, and not anything more over that and nothing in between. Accuracy 110. Now, Seema, as you can probably tell me, do you use any accuracy for your Gila set? Would you go to 0 if you could? Or do you use a little bit of accuracy? You are muted? Oh, Seema, she's got my Comcast problem. Well, anyway, I will keep chatting away. I don't know how long she's been gone. Sorry, Seema. Accuracy, you typically don't need any on a healer. You could put some on a heal set if you do some off DPS, but you typically are going to prioritize accuracy or alacrity to a couple thresholds and crit on healer gear. And then on tank gear, you don't need any, especially tanks for tanking PvE, you don't need any accuracy either. You're going to be going everything into absorb and shield. For DPS, to get 110 accuracy, the number is, and the number shall be, the number for 7.0 is, where is it? I just had it. Well, here, I'll show you one of the sites. There is a number, and you have to get the number, and the number is 2,694. So 2,694 is the number. That's what the number shall be. That's how you get to 110 accuracy. Ignore what you're seeing in the tooltip when it tells you the percent of accuracy that you have, because you can't figure it out, but why? But it's wrong. So now, well, here I am at 2,400 accuracy. Let me pop. I think the stim screws it up. The stim and your other companion bonuses. I just sold all my stims. Buy those back. close the vendor window, click my stem because I'm using the proficient stem so that I can get the 264 accuracy that it gives me. And that makes my total accuracy 2555, which is 8.92, 2694. That looks kind of accurate. I was at 2900 accuracy and it was still saying that I was under 110. So focus on the number, don't focus on the percent because it was wacky for me in a couple situations. There are a couple sites. So this is graphics.com. The Theory Crafter Discord has the numbers available to you, but graphics.com, and then there's another spreadsheet that you can get to that's linked in the Theory Crafting Discord. And if you search for SWTOR Theory Crafting Discord on any of your favorite search engines, you can get into the Discord there. This spreadsheet and the Graphic website.
I'm back, by the way.
Thank you for coming back. I did see, I saw the note. I was talking for a while, but I did notice that you were gone. But this tells you that accuracy number, and they will also suggest in both of these places, you don't have to do it this way, but it'll suggest, hey, how can you go about doing that? What mix of gear? So the graphics.com website says, well, use 2 pieces of operations gear and then use a whole stack of augments, and that's a great way to get to that 2700 accuracy. I'm preferring to go this route where I'm doing 4 pieces of gear and then only a couple augments. And one of the pieces of gear that I'm using is my implant, and another piece of my earpiece, and another piece of gear that I'm using is the weapon. So then I only need 2 pieces of armor to have accuracy on them. Pro tip, if you need an extra piece of accuracy, the sets that you get off of each of the vendors, the Decurion Bolt Blaster, the Thirsian Bolt Blaster, there's only, or Force Lords or Demolishers, all of those only have accuracy on 2 armor pieces. What you can do if you want a 3rd armor piece with accuracy on it is you can go get a piece off of another set, like the Force Lord, the healer set, for example. And the pieces that have accuracy on them for the healer sets are on a different 2 pieces than what's on the Bolt Blaster set, for example. So Marauder, I looked at the few that I was starting to gather. Marauder Pummeler set, for example, has on all of the different places you would get Marauder Pummeler, the PvP Marauder Pummeler, the Decurion Marauder Pummeler, the accuracy is on the gloves and the legs. The Force Lord, my Sork uses Force Lord. The accuracy is on the head and the chest. And the Mercenary Bolt Blaster, the accuracy is on the chest and the legs. So you could have 5 pieces, all 5 of your main pieces have accuracy on them if you mixed and matched from all of these. Now, you'd never want to do that. That's way too much because you can do it with augments and other things. But if you're trying to get 4 pieces with accuracy and just doing it with the armor and not your weapons and not your earpiece, for example, that's why you would do that. And that's why I have a Force Lord piece that's one of my sets that I'm going to be upgrading because I want the accuracy on that piece. All right. So now once you've got your accuracy, then you can start looking at other things like alacrity. So with alacrity, alacrity does get tricky. Alacrity has the thresholds. So let's look at is anybody talking about alacrity here? I'll show you here in the theory.
I have a comment about alacrity.
Yeah, well, it's even more important for healers. So yeah, you tell me a story about alacrity.
So when I bought the Conquest gear, I was in my Discipline 4 DPS, because I hadn't really thought it through. And with that set equipped, I have a little bit more alacrity than I need. If you were DPS, not nearly enough accuracy, right? Because it's not carefully done, but it's like alacrity is going to be there. I think the struggle is going to be more when I say enough alacrity, I mean for 1.4 cooldown.
Yes. So that
because I don't even try for 1.3 because my playstyle is that I don't think I would make good use of the difference of 1/10 of a second.
And the
So I
amount of
just
alacrity you need to stack to even get to that 1.3 is extreme.
right. So just equipping the DPS gear set that I got with the Medals of Commendation, I have enough alacrity. So for healing, it's a little bit easier because you just get to a certain threshold for alacrity, and then the rest goes in crit. However, I mean, I haven't verified that it still works that way. I'm just making that assumption, so stay tuned.
Which it does. The numbers have changed, the thresholds have changed, so that's what everyone needs to look up for your discipline, and then there's a couple other variables. So for your discipline in particular, you need to go to the Theory Crafter board. This is if you're really trying to get to one of those thresholds. You need to go to the Theory Crafter boards and look up what the threshold is. The second, because besides discipline can affect what bonuses. There are a couple sort of like discipline bonuses that may affect some baseline alacrity that you get. The other thing is if your guild has the Alacrity Guild perk turned on. Most guilds do not. And in fact, there's issues with that guild perk if you don't have it on 100% of the time, and that fluctuating, that it can be problematic. But if your guild is committed to that and always has that on so that you can count on it, well, then your threshold to get to 1.3 or even 1.2, nobody's going to get to 1.2. But 1.3 global cooldown, that's 1.3 seconds of the global cooldown instead of 1.5, which is the baseline, is what we're saying there. It's possible to get to 1.3 if you have that guild perk going on. It's relatively unreasonable if you do not have that guild perk for most classes. For Bolt Blaster, for Arsenal Mercenary, for example, I am going after 1.4, and that means I need 1,123 alacrity, and that gets me that 1/10 of a second from 1.5 global cooldown of abilities down to 1.4, and my channeled abilities go a little bit faster. Anything between the 1.4 threshold and the 1.3 threshold doesn't do anything. So this is why the thresholds matter. So if you have 1123 or you have 3000, it's still 1.4 seconds of global cooldown.
Right.
You don't get down to 1.3. It doesn't tick over into the next threshold until for Arsenal, till 4021 alacrity. That's an enormous amount of alacrity, and I would end up with like no crit, and that would not be good for me. Healers may be trying to get to that 1.3 in certain circumstances, and and they may be willing to sacrifice crit, because crit and like burst of an extra heal isn't necessarily as good as faster sustained healing that's more predictable.
And some healers, depending on what they're doing, they try to hit the accuracy cap too, because they have room to.
Mm-hmm.
Because and then you can be assured that your CC will always land.
Right. I typically wouldn't recommend that these days because it's so much accuracy that you need to go to.
That's for the 1%.
Right. And for those healers that have a special job and may have some extra armor pieces that they swap out in a loadout because they have a fight with a special job where they need to be doing an interrupt. Say you're doing Master Mode Duxon and you're on the Isaacs fight and you need to be hitting those interrupts, and the healers have that job as well. You might swap in that accuracy. And that's what loadouts are for, kids. That's what loadouts are for.
Loadouts are the best.
So then, accuracy, alacrity to 1,123, accuracy to 2,694, alacrity to 1,123. As close to that, over that, without going too much over, is what you want to do. And then for me as DPS, and for most DPS, everything else into crit is mostly what you're going to do. And that's where I'm headed. That's where I'm going. That's my plan. The plan is mine. That is my plan. So again, if you look here, because I've got I've got my weapon up to 326. Now I know it's going to be set there at 326 for a while, and I'm comfortable with that. I'm going to let it ride. I've augmented it. I only go with the purple augments. I don't go with the gold augments because I don't have billions to spend, and it would be billions worth of augments if you're going to go that route. So I'm not going to spend billions on my augments, but I am going to spend tens of millions on the augments. So I've got all of the 74 augments that I'll put in everything, but not until I get it to up to 326 in everything. I will waste some extra MK11 kits because you can take the augment out. Just don't forget, don't lose the augment. But if it's something I'm going to upgrade tomorrow, like these 320 pieces, I'm not even going to bother to put the MK11 augment kit in it. I mean, why waste the 100K credits? And well, the augment kit itself probably costs a bunch more than that these days. Probably $1 million. But anyway, that's my plan. That's the direction I'm going to go. I'll have these mix of these different sets, and I will keep them all to sort of get them all refined in a nice state for 326, and I will keep them there in that 326 state until we get to R4, probably in particular, because we're not going to be doing master mode content anytime soon. We'll be doing vet mode operations, but maybe somebody can try to throw. We could try to throw in a master mode Nephra, but I think even the progression groups right now are barely getting a master mode Nephra down. So we're going to be waiting to get R4 anomaly, and that will then get us that 328 gear. So we're going to get our whole team into this 326 space, get all comfortable with that, get our augments cleaned up, get our sets all set, get our alacrity and our accuracy all where it needs to be, and then we'll be ready for R4 anomaly.
So Master Lou in the chat room is saying, so legacy armor gear, moddable gear is gone?
Yes,
and
no.
moddable gear, it's not gone. It just doesn't appear until you get to a certain eye level, right?
Correct, which doesn't exist yet. So
Right.
it's there for cosmetics. You can take all of your collectible cool armor and put it in the outfit designer. Like I've got my cool set here. Mods don't exist in 7.0 yet. In 7.1, mods will come back for the people that are up at 330.
Legacy armor is still around, and everything you get is still bound to legacy.
Once you start doing vet mode R4 anomaly, you will be able to unlock a mod vendor and start getting mods again for moddable gear. But that's a little ways off. It's a little ways off until R4 anomaly comes out, and it's a little ways off until people really start doing vet mode R4 anomaly. Once this higher levels of gear come out, 330, 332, 334, and beyond, and it will go beyond, when I would predict in maybe 7.2, 7.3, when master mode R4 anomaly comes out, this 326 level here will probably bump up to 328 and maybe even 330. That's going to happen. And Chris Schmidt, in our interview with him, talked about that. When that starts happening, we may be able to unlock, just through conquest and conquest upgrades, a mod vendor, even without doing any operations. But that's a little ways off. That's probably summer at the earliest before you would be doing that just through the regular conquest upgrades. Fun. Don't forget, the best way to be getting all of your gear all collected and ready to go is by using loadouts effectively. If you change something and upgrade a piece, remember to stamp it back into your loadout. The copy button in your loadout is how you do that. You're copying your current bars, abilities, combat style ability set, and your armor. You're copying that into the loadout that you're clicking that button on. The best way to switch to a loadout is to click on that loadout and click activate, and that will activate that loadout and switch your gear, switch your bars, and switch your abilities. And if you want to take any upgrades you put them into another loadout that you have, switch to the loadout, change out the piece of gear that is now not part of that loadout, the new piece of gear that you upgraded, and restamp that into that new loadout. That's another best practice. And then finally, and I couldn't even name this podcast Get Naked because it was a Twitch would not let me name the stream Get Naked. But I'm taking credit for this. I invented and I put it on Twitter, the best way to get naked, which if you're like me and you share gear sets between multiple characters and you keep needing to take off all your gear so you can put it in legacy storage so you can give it to your other characters, take a loadout, name the loadout Get Naked. You don't have to name it that, but and you spell it Nekkid. That's how I spell it. Unequip all of your gear and stamp the unequipped set into that loadout. And then when you hit the activate button, boom, one click, you get naked and all your gear dumps into your inventory. And then you still need to manually put it into your legacy storage. If you're a dual wielder for some reason, and this is, I'm sure, just a bug, it does not take your main hand weapon out. So you got to remember to take that out manually. But then you got a get naked button and it gets you naked. So there you go. There's my pro tip for the fastest way to get naked. So I posted this on Twitter and in Guild, and somebody replied with the gif of the scene from Bruce Almighty when he does this motion with his hands. He drops his hands and all of his clothes fly off because he had god powers and he was getting himself naked really fast. So yes, that's exactly what you're doing, and best way to do that. And you could call that the max maneuver. You could also name your loadout the max maneuver if you want.
Maneuver. Oh my god.
All right, so that is gearing. Great references out there. The theory crafting, MMO bits, great places to go after this. The casual way to do it, as Seema suggested, is just play the game and upgrade that noble Decurion stuff that you got off of that vendor for a paltry 200 medals of commendation. Just slowly upgrade that stuff all the time, and you'll be in a great place.
Every time you get conquest on that character, you'll get another 200. It's not a one-time thing.
Right. You'll keep getting the medals, and you'll also need aquatic resource matrices to upgrade that stuff, but those tend to flow as well just by doing stuff.
Do stuff.
Should be great. Do stuff, get things. There you go. To sum it up. Anything else before we wrap up for this week?
No,
Seema?
that's a lot.
It was.
Thank you for going over all that. I missed part of it, but I guess I can ask you questions after.
Yes, you can. Feel free to jump in the Discord and ask me questions as well. I'm not really the expert. As you see, I've got these resources and experts I call on. I was asking them questions earlier today. I was posting questions in the Theory Crafter Discord. Why is my accuracy at 2,900 and I'm still not at 110%? Oh, that's a bug. Blah, blah, blah. So, but I will direct you to the right resources if I don't know the answer. And with that,
that's what I want. I want you to actually read the resources and then tell me the answer.
All right. No.
Okay.
I delegate. I was elected to lead, not to read. But with that, our 416 droid is ready to wrap up this episode, get bumped down an airlock, broadcast this episode to all of you out there. To keep from missing out, subscribe to New Overlords on YouTube and follow on Twitch. And you can find all the links to this and more of everything that's going on and what's next on newoverlords.com. Follow me on Twitter at MaxTheGray, and I'll keep you up to date. For the Alea Yaktas Guild on Starforge and in all of the games that we play, check out aie-guild.org. You'll get the Discord link in the upper right. Jump in there. We'd be happy to get you an invite. And we will talk to you soon.
Later, all you excellent people.